Welcome back, my friends, to the Mail Right Real Estate Agent Podcast Show. This is episode 119, and today we are going to interview Dave Lawrence, who is the head of growth at Follow Up Boss. Now, if you're not familiar with Follow Up Boss, in summary, it's a lead conversion and sales follow-up tool that makes you more efficient and automated. And for more than that, I'm going to jump over to Dave and have Dave introduce himself, and then we'll dive into some questions. Dave, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Again, my name's Dave. Head of growth at Follow Up Boss. Not everybody knows exactly what that means. So basically, my role at Follow Up Boss is to look for, as it relates to Follow Up Boss, our biggest area of growth is our referrals, and that's really where most of our new business comes from. So what we do is we're constantly in search for the areas where we can improve the customer experience. And so that's my job. So everything from product to sales to customer service, we look for all those different opportunities. And Follow Up Boss itself is, the way we've been describing it is it's simple sales software for real estate teams, right? So our job, as you mentioned, Thomas, is to help you follow up faster, more often, and with the leads most likely to convert into deals. And we do that with a number of different ways, which I'm sure we'll touch on at different points.
Yes, we're going to dive into some questions in a minute. I want to let our co-host Jonathan here introduce himself.
Oh, well, hi there, folks. I'm the founder of MailRight. We're a marketing package that helps you get more leads by using Facebook.
And I'm Thomas J. Nelson. I'm a residential realtor and networker here in San Diego, California, where I'm never too busy for your referrals. You can find me on my website, conveniently named thomasjnelsonrealtor.com. All right, Dave, I want to dive into this because Jonathan has brought up your company more than once on this show in the past, especially when we're talking to techies. I know he thinks highly of it, and he's piqued my interest in it, so I have done a little bit of research on it. But I wanted to find out, first of all, we gave a very marketing description of what you do, but what is the nuts and bolts of Follow Up Boss? What are people hiring you to do for them?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great way to ask that question too. I guess you must be a fan of the jobs to be done framework, right? So what are people hiring us for? So it really boils down to three core things that we really help real estate agents and teams with. Number one, you're getting leads from a lot of different places,
right?
And you need a central spot. Like you just feel like it's just chaotic, right? That there's no system or process in place to help you manage those and follow up. So that's a big one because we plug into a lot of different lead sources, over 200 of them in the real estate industry specifically. And then, once you've got your leads flowing into one place, teams, the biggest challenge around converting those leads is usually boiled down to accountability with their agents. So making sure that their team is following the processes that the team leader knows works to convert those leads. So what we do is we provide systems for accountability, but also give you transparency into what's happening across your team, the activity that they're doing to follow up and engage these leads and make sure that they're doing it right so you can coach them, to increase those conversion rates. And then the third sort of pillar or piece that we really help people with is that this challenge of, I've got all these wonderful past clients. I know I'm not doing enough to engage with them and follow up. So we're able to give you some simple systems to help stay on top of which of your past clients would be most relevant to engage with.
Okay, so this is specifically designed for real estate agents. In other words, the focus is the real estate industry. You don't serve any other industry?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're 100% focused. Sorry, I'm just going to plug in a headset here. I think I'm getting some background noise. Yeah, so 100% focused on the real estate industry. I mean, inadvertently being an internet business, we've come in contact with other businesses who've signed up and used our product. But yeah, our 100% focus is real estate, and more specifically, real estate teams or solo agents who are planning to ultimately build a team or grow their business.
Okay, that was my next question, because I noticed that your platform begins with really 5 users or more. So it's really not for the solo agent planning to stay solo as much as for the solo agent that's building a team or already has a team.
Yeah, look, I mean, we have lots of solo agents who signed up for Follow Up Boss years ago and continue to use it this day as solo agents and find it a very effective tool.
But as far as, how we communicate it and how we prioritize feature development, it really is around that team concept. Typically starting, like, our sweet spot ends up being between, teams between 3 and 10 users total, is really where we hit grand slams.
And then how did this come to be? Like, is somebody at Follow Up Boss one of the founders from the real estate industry, or how did you target real estate?
So, I don't know how they specifically landed on real estate. I think it was an early mentor of theirs also had technology products in the real estate space. So there was some interesting conversations that they were able to get access to. But really, so neither of them are actually from a real estate specific background. They're both from sales and marketing backgrounds, obviously one of them being very much on the technical side. And so the way that they narrowed in on this concept is, which I think put them at a great advantage, was that they didn't have any preconceived notions as to how the real estate business should be carried out. What they were able to do is do deep dive interviews and really get under the hood of a number of different real estate businesses to figure out what their most pressing problems were, what was keeping them up at night, what were the challenges that were facing them that prevented them from growing. And as a result of that, they were able to build a product that didn't have bloat, that didn't have all these other related things, and keyed straight in on those core pains that their early customers were having, and just focus exclusively on solving those. And so as a result, obviously they found a lot of other people that had the same pains, had the same problems. And, what's interesting about having taken that direction is it's very rare that you hear of a tech company who their very first ever paying customer is still a customer today, 6+ years later.
Wow.
And so it's because they keyed in on those very specific pains that really were hurting that particular individual in a big way in their business, solved them, and allowed him to achieve some very substantial growth, to where he's built his entire business around Follow Up Boss.
Wow. So you guys have been around for about 6 years, which means that over those 6 years, I'm sure that this has gone from probably a beta form to what you launched with, and then from what you launched with to today. Has there been a lot of changes to it?
Yes. So the nature of the real estate business is it changes frequently, right? And so you can actually go to updates.followupboss.com to see for yourself the transparency we have around everything we're fixing, and you'll see every day or every other day or multiple times a day stuff being posted about stuff we're improving and adding to the product. Some of those small, some of those very big. It was actually about 2 years ago we started to beta release the new version of our product. So we built something for 4 years. You add on to it over time, and eventually it's like, same thing with a house. You add on enough times, eventually it kind of gets to this point where, in order to really go to the next phase of growth, you need to rebuild.
Right.
And so that's what we did. We started from the ground up with everything we'd learned over 4 years, and re-architected the system that was built in such a way that allows us to not only deliver on the things we're solving today, but gives us the platform that allows us to build into the future as well.
Well, and I know that what you touched on earlier is a huge problem for any agent generating a lot of leads, and it's just keeping up with the organizing those leads, and then what am I doing with them? And as Jonathan's pointed out in episodes past, not targeting everyone with a generic message, because there's some are buyers, some are sellers, some are investors, some are new, some are seasoned. So is that something a Follow Up Boss can help tailor the message to the particular audience?
Yep. Yeah, so there's actually two sides to that too. It's also being able to make sure that you personalize the messaging on behalf of the agent that's going to be servicing that prospective client too, right? So with the lead sources, there's lots of different ways that you can, our system with a lot of the, lead sources that we get already automatically recognizes the difference between a buyer and seller, and allows you to trigger follow-up campaigns, specifically based on that. But there are lots of ways to make it more granular. Stuff we do at large with a lot of our inquiries, like tagging zip code, in town, allows you to segment how you follow up with those leads individually. But also, like I mentioned, allows you to decide which of your agents gets those leads. So if it's agents that are servicing a particular area, agents that are specializing or more experienced, so should be getting a higher price point lead. All these different kinds of factors allow you to decide both how you follow up and who's going to be the person servicing that prospect.
It struck me as a great tool for a brokerage. I mean, do you have brokers using this, or is it really down a notch to the team level?
So we do have brokers using it, but it's absolutely not a tool that you're going to want to buy as a brokerage and roll out to 500 agents and hope that they all use it for their individual businesses. Where this shines for a brokerage is there's this trend that's been happening the last few years where brokerages have e-leads teams within the brokerage. So a lot of the office leads or leads that maybe the broker's buying individually from Zillow and Realtor.com separate from what's coming off listing leads or anything like that. They're sending those into their e-leads team. And with that e-leads team, if it's going to run well, should have a sales director who's actually overseeing the process, holding the agents accountable, and managing the client experience on the way through.
Okay. Well, I like that you're focused. I mean, that's some of my questions have revealed is there's a huge market out there that you probably could be going after, but you're very focused. And I think that will help improve the product for the people that are using it, because you're not distracted by multiple industries or a huge variety even within this industry. It's sounds like this is very laser focused on the team model, and I like the sound.
You hear us shout it about all the time, right? You do have to focus your marketing if you want your marketing to be effective. You have to focus your sales if you want it to be effective, and the same thing really boils down to a technology product. If you're not focused, what it leads to is a lot of bloat, a lot of things you don't need, and ultimately a lot of things that get in the way of your daily operations. When we focused in on the salesperson as our primary target for who is going to be using this product, and not the admins in a brokerage or the admins on a real estate team, we focused on the salesperson first. That allowed us to eliminate 95% of what most of the other CRMs were trying to accomplish in one system. And that by removing that bloat, it removes the layers. So it takes 2 clicks to log a phone call instead of 10. Right? And when a salesperson's trying to do that 50 times a day, that adds up in a big way. And so, that efficiency is what we really went for. And it's been like that since day one of the product. And you see that all the way through everything else that we do, the way we support customers, the way we market it.
Well, because it makes sense that if you're trying to make your business more efficient, you want an efficient CRM or whatever the tool is to improve it, not to sit there and have to take a whole course on how to run it. And that's kind of leading me to my question. So it's day one. I just subscribed to Follow Up Boss. What are the first couple tasks at hand to get me set up?
So it's different for everybody, but most of our clients are using Google as their primary email platform. And so we're able to do some pretty advanced stuff with that, the Google connection that you do when you sign up to Follow Up Boss. We're able to start pulling in your leads automatically. So any leads that, real estate leads that you're getting that come to your email account, we're actually able to pull those in automatically, start showing them inside your account for you right away. And then that allows us to flip the switch on some automated follow-ups. Like we've got great campaigns if you're getting portal leads, all that kind of stuff right out of the box. So we can flip the switch on those. And at the same time, we can start getting the leads distributed automatically. A lot of people are still sitting there manually forwarding every single email notification they get about leads to them. We can completely automate that process for you. And the reality is, if you're a DIY or if you're working with one of us to help you get that implemented, like we can have that done in 15 minutes from when you start a free trial, right? Most people get it done within the first day or two, but if we're on the phone with you, we get that done right. We can get that stuff started immediately. So a lot of these initial pains, the prerequisites to starting to really grow your business, we can solve those for you very, very quickly.
So now, should a team have a certain volume of leads coming in before this is an effective system for them, or is this designed to help them actually create more leads while they're setting it up?
So we don't do any lead generation whatsoever, right? So we really are about helping you manage and process the sales leads you get in your business today. The distinction I'll make there with the number of leads. So there is, you do want to be getting at least, sort of at least 10 new leads a month, because that's representing at least some form of growth opportunity that you can start to expand on. Obviously a lot of our clients are seeing a lot more. We have clients sign up and they're getting 1,000 leads a month. But the thing is, I want you to remember too, that those leads aren't only internet leads. Those are also, referral leads and stuff that you're getting from, your sphere and past clients. And so a lot of people sign up because they're not doing enough work with that group today, and they can, very quickly increase their lead flow from that source as well when you sign up with Follow Up Boss. Okay,
I appreciate you clearing that up. We're going to take a short break. Jonathan, I'm going to toss it over to you so you can take us to commercial.
Oh, hi there, Thomas, and really enjoying the conversation. And we'll be just going for a quick break, folks, about 30 seconds, and then we'll be back and we'll be discussing more about Follow Up Boss with Dave. Be back in a second. We're coming back, folks. We've had a great chat with Dave so far. Back to you, Thomas.
Okay, so I'm starting to get the picture of this now. So basically, let's just say I have a team of 4 or 5 agents. We have a method of driving leads in, but our biggest problem right now is organizing and servicing those leads and probably distributing them. We're also probably suffering from accountability within the team, not sure who's following up with who. So let's talk about that aspect of it. So for someone that's a team leader and they want to see, all right, well, I'm giving out equal share of leads, but I'm not getting equal results. This is a way to kind of measure who's doing what.
Absolutely. Yeah. It allows you to, we can track everything right through to deal. We have a feature we released in the last few months called Deals that helps you stay on top of what your pipeline looks like. And so getting visibility into that, we're now able to build reporting that ties back to original lead source, but also agent working with, that client, what their performance levels are. And so when you start there and you kind of understand who's really producing, who's truly producing in your business and who's not, you can start to then dig a layer deeper and understand, well, what are they actually doing, that differs from these top producing agents? So what do the top producers have in common? And then how can we tie that back to what, the underperformers have in common? And, quite often, so we look at things, everything from like appointments being set with the leads provided, and you can understand percentages there. That's a really good early indicator to understand how an agent's performing with the leads you're providing. A step ahead of that is conversations. So your contact rate, how often you're able to get engaged with a lead, get into a conversation, start having some kind of two-way communication with them. Because, the nature of the real estate sales process, we don't, as much as we love automation, we can't automate ourselves out of this business, right? So, we need to start conversations for people. So that's a big part of what we encourage people to look at. And then often, you can almost find that it does boil down to some kind of an activity metric. So how many call attempts the agent's making with the leads, how quickly they're trying to reach the leads, how many times they try to reach each lead that you're providing them. This is stuff that's harked on all the time, but speed to lead and number of attempts often does still make the difference between a good and a great salesperson.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just brought up a question. So is this system set up to kind of prompt these agents to take these actions, or is it more just tracking when they do?
So it's a bit of both. So there's a lot we try to do to strike a balance there. Notifications to agents there's a very fine balance you have to hit there, because if you over notify them about leads and activity, they can't keep up with all of them and it just turns into noise. Okay. And so they don't value those notifications as highly as you want them to.
Right.
So that's where a lot of CRMs rely on task automation.
You're
and
right.
We have that. We have the ability to automate tasks to remind agents to do exactly what you want them to do. But on the flip side of that, we also have a feature called Smart Lists. And so what you aim to do, this is basically like a filtered search in your database. So you can create a smart list for, show me all the leads that have come in the last 14 days that have been called less than 6 times, right?
Okay.
That are assigned to Johnny, and so when you have, when you have a list like that, so what we aim to do and help our customers do is come up with about 3 to 5 of those smart lists that apply to their business and cover everything from, new leads to like active website leads, people are coming back looking at properties on your site, things like that. Current clients, so helping make sure that none of those slip through the cracks and they're always being resurfaced on these lists. Past clients, there's all kinds of different scenarios that you can use a list for. And when you have an agent that has between 3 and 5 of these lists to check each day, come into the office, they block a little time to do their follow-up, and they go to list number 1, call everybody on that list. Go to list number 2, call everybody there. And the objective here is not to give agents a list of 200 people to call everybody on that list. You want to try and surface for them between 10 and 20 leads each day that would be the highest value of everything going on in your database for them to reach out to. I know it's kind of a long way to answer the question, but it's sort of 2 parts, right? The way that we look at it. In order to efficiently do it, you want to make sure that the tasks you're assigning and the notifications you're sending to agents are high value opportunities. You don't want to try and notify them on every single subsequent task that they could possibly need to do, because you take 2 days off, you walk in, you open up your CRM and you see 250 tasks, you quit. You're like, I can't even start. And then what happens, right? Psychologically, they delete them all or they mark them all as completed. And every time you do something like that, you care just a little bit less about how much those tasks mean to you, right? So where Smart List, it's just this hit list. It's meant to be short. It's meant to get your highest value stuff done right at the beginning of your day. And then what it gives the team leader as well is an accountability piece. So if you see an agent that's getting a backlog and seeing a lot of stuff show up on those smart lists, you know that there's something that needs to be addressed there. Either they're not logging things properly, or they're just not doing the required actions, or they're overwhelmed, too many leads, too many clients, all things that you can start to address and rebalance what your pipeline looks like.
That totally makes sense, because now all of a sudden you've got smaller task lists with more efficient tasks on them, because as you were saying, these are the top priority in your database. So they're probably going to yield the biggest results, which is going to kind of be a reward for doing the task in the first place and create the motivation to continue to do them. And then you're also in the background drip marketing the low priority leads, because maybe, we've had lots of guests on the show, and it's arguable, but a lot of people subscribe to the 18-month sales cycle. So assuming a new lead isn't going to be as ready to go as a 12-month lead. So that totally makes sense what you're saying. And actually, I'm going to steal some of that from my own single realtor plan here. But I like that, because I can see where that creates momentum.
Yeah. Well, to put that in, and to talk about what you're saying for your solo agent, processes, I was at a great conference last week in Austin, and what a lot of those folks, I was chatting with a lot of people, and what a lot of them, they were struggling with was this transition from being a pure relationship driven real estate agent, right? Where, you're getting referrals. So you get this inherent passing on of credibility and trust that you get through them, and don't know how to extend that to this higher volume lead generation scenario that we're seeing the real estate business move into. Like, you hear all these crazy stats. I think it was maybe NAR who came out with them. That's like, of the 5 million homes. So I'm plucking numbers out of thin air. I don't know the actual stat, but it's something, crazy like that. In 2010, there were 5 million leads. And in 2016, like, for the same number of homes sold, it was like quadruple the number of leads generated, right? And so what this is forcing a lot of real estate agents into is the need to be able to manage a wider funnel, a wider sales pipeline. And that's not natural to someone who came through this business with every relationship being one-to-one, referral-based. And so, it becomes this question of how do you transfer that? How do you develop trust with people who don't trust you today, right? And a big part of that is through that drip marketing. It's through, what you're doing, whether it be through direct mail, whether it be through email newsletters, whatever the case is, to actually send stuff on a regular basis that's current and updated, and developing trust to those people. But it also boils down to who you call and when. If you just hammer every single prospect that comes into your database, I mean, your results might go up, but you're also going to piss a lot of people off too, right? So if you can key in on the people who are most likely to be responsive, who are most in need for support in their real estate sales cycle, wherever that might be, if they're very early on, there's a way that you can nurture and support those people. So identifying the ones that look like, based on their activity, they need the most help is a huge opportunity as well.
Well, you're speaking to me because I am one of those agents. I almost feel like Jonathan might have set me up here because
I just couldn't believe it. I actually didn't pay Dave to say that, but Thomas is a real Buffini agent, and it's great. And I got absolute animation. Regard for the Buffini ideology, but agent, there's literally has to be two sides of an agent nowadays, and you put it beautifully, Dave. I've got a quick question. There's a lot going on in Follow Up Boss. It's a powerful system, and where's that decision making between added functionality and it getting a lot of onboarding needed? There's a suite area. How has the company found that internal process, decision-making process? We're going to add additional functionality, but this adds to complexity.
Mm-hmm. So the way we look at it is that we're constantly going to be adding in both buckets. I'm trying to think of the best way to sort of talk about what we do, because we've gone through a fairly evolved process to try and determine how we make those decisions internally, how we stay on top of that, and how do we continue to stay true to what made us successful in the first place while staying ahead of what's, being built in the real estate space. And the true answer to that question is making sure, number one, when we get feature requests, that we tie it back to understanding if this is coming from someone that we see as being truly in our target market, right? That we really are focusing and narrowing down that feature feedback to understand if it's in our sweet spot. The second piece is making sure that it's salesperson driven. We always want to be finding ways to surface more information for team leaders, but if that's ever at the detriment to the salesperson that's using us 50 times a day versus the team leader checking us once or twice a day, that's where we really want to, that's where we're going to find a lot of where some of these feature requests get maybe put for a later date or sidelined a little bit until we have other things in place that are going to ensure that the sales agent is protected on the way through, that their usability and that, their speed, for carrying out their workday is maintained. We learned about some great advice that was given to another tech company founder from Jeff Bezos. So he gave this to the guys who run Basecamp. And he said, always look for the things that your customers will value 10 years from now the same way they do today. An investment in that stuff today will continue to yield you dividends a decade or two from now, right? And so when we look at those things, like you asked the questions, is anybody going to ever wish Follow Up Boss was slower? Right? Never, ever, ever in a million years, right? So we double down on that. We look at our infrastructure. We try to make it faster. We woke up one day and our CTO shared a message in our team meeting and just said, well, we did some improvements. We've been working on them for the last couple of weeks. They released, and Follow Up Boss basically got 30% faster, right? Wow. And so those are the kinds of things, those are the wins that we look for, and that's how we prioritize. If it's something that's going to have that kind of an impact on your daily use, we're going to double down on that. And the other one, I know I'm going on a rant here because this is I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, but the other piece is simplicity. So speed and simplicity are the two things that are never, ever, ever going to change as far as desires go from our customer base. So if the feature helps with either of those or both of those, it goes to the top of the list.
Oh, that's great. I think we're going to wrap up the podcast part of the show. The 30 minutes plus have gone quite quick, but we're going to continue the discussion with Dave on our bonus content, which you'll be able to find on the MailRight website. basically, Dave, how can people get hold of you or find out more about Follow Up Boss?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, our website is a wealth of information. You can actually get all our training resources there on how we onboard new customers. So you get a window into what that looks like and how it differs from other CRMs. But me personally, I'm always able to be contacted by email to dave@followupboss.com. Or, my direct line at work is 628-600-2880. So anybody wants to chat about business in general or specifically about Follow Up Boss, you can reach out anytime.
That's great, Dave. And Thomas, how can people get hold of you and find out more about your services?
Well, I'm easy to find. I'm all over social media, but you'll find me mostly on Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as my website, thomasjnelsonrealtor.com. Or you can do the old school thing and just pick up the phone and call me at 858-232-8722. Because here in San Diego, I'm never too busy for your referrals.
And if you want to find more about me, folks, it's quite easy. Go to the MailRight website. You can email me at jonathan@mail-right.com, or you go to my Twitter feed at Jonathan Denwood, and you'll find out I'm into this week. I think it's been a great show. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Dave, for coming on. We'll have another person giving you advice, information next week on the MailRight Real Estate Show. We'll see you next week, folks. But remember, there's be bonus content also on the website. See you next week, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Right, yeah. So we'll just go on for another 10 minutes, Dave. Basically, a real techie question. What's it actually built on? Is it built on Ruby on Rails?
I think it's PHP, actually.
Oh, it's PHP. All right. So I'm a WordPress junkie.
Okay.
I think, how much has interface design been a key to your success? Because I think you're one of the best looking when it comes to UX design on the market compared to your competitors. How important has that been for the company?
Well, I'll tell Jack, our product manager, that you said that. He will. He always likes to get feedback like that. So I would say, it's actually interesting. You look at what we look like now, but then you go back to what we looked like when we first started. And I would say that design, while it was great, it was totally fine. It suited other web apps of the era. That wasn't the trigger. That wasn't what sold Follow Up Boss. What sold Follow Up Boss was the simplicity and functionality, right? So when people got in, it didn't look great, but there was a dashboard. It gave you all the answers about what was going on in your account, and then it was very easy for you to just dive in and start doing your follow-up, right? Whereas you shift it today, and the market is changing, right? It's becoming more sophisticated, more competitive, and so we knew that the future of the company, something that it also has to do with what you're proud to work on, right? As a developer, as a designer, as someone doing customer support or marketing, that means something to us too, that our product looks fantastic. So I would say that there came a point where we really doubled down on, and wanting to take this business to the next level, where we knew design was going to be a key factor in that, being able to maintain simplicity, but still looking fantastic, being a place that salespeople would be happy to spend a few hours a day in, right?
To get back to a question that Thomas kind of touched, I think the other thing, especially a relationship-based agent looking to expand their tool set into, I'm waffling a little bit here, I'm trying to find the right words, but I think one of the areas they struggle with is the amount of leads they got to generate to feed a system like Follow Up Boss. Is that area where you've also found that you've had to kind of enlighten agents to your platform, the amount of leads that they've got to generate to feed into the system in a way?
Yeah, I think, that conversation does come up, and, we chat with people around that, and, we will provide some basic levels of advice, but where we work with 200 different lead providers, from a sort of integration or accepting leads in perspective, there's a lot of different recipes that are going to work for a lot of different people. There's no definitive answer on number of leads and no definitive answer on where they should get them. However, where we see, where I think that question comes up more often than not is when people have started to build their team too early. And now they're panicking that they're not keeping the agents on the team's bellies full.
Yep.
Right. So where I hear a lot of the most successful team leaders, the ones who've sustained these larger teams, because you often hear about people who run 25 agent teams, you check in with them 8 months later and they're down to 3, right? Because, there's different things, and all for different reasons, good and bad. But the reality is the people who've been able to sustain that, right, are they started by first making sure that their bellies were as full as they could be. And then they started training one person at a time, right? Bring them on, transition some of those leads to them, give them some of their production and be able to coach and mentor them, understand what it takes to take an agent from point A to highly productive, right? And then you can start to systematize and replicate that so you can build faster. But if you go out, you come home from a conference and you decide you want to go from solo agent to 5 or 10 agent team, and you haven't done that groundwork to get there, that's where the mistakes start to happen. That's where the challenges people run into with lead volume and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Chris Smith and Jimmy and Curator have been kind of big champions of you and big users. How beneficial has it been to be linked to the Curator brand and Chris Smith?
So from a direct sales perspective, I would say, it's certainly, had its benefits. Obviously, we got, shout outs in the conversion code in his book and his bestseller. But where I think the greatest benefit that we've had in being able to be a part of that Curator family, essentially, and that's really how they treat us and really how we feel when we, the wonderful event I talked about that I went to 2 weeks ago in Austin was their excellence event, right? And where I would say the biggest benefit, so every year they invite us and we bring people from our development team, people from our customer support team, and we interface with their customers directly, right? And we give them insights on how to use our product better, look for opportunities in their account to really help them take things to the next level. But the biggest benefit we get from that is that we've got these people who are highly successful agents, either before or because of joining Curator, right? There's people sort of in both camps. And there's a lot of people in that segment that we've been talking about here where solo agent or husband and wife team, very, very productive, great face-to-face salespeople, and they're coming in and trying to figure out how to, they know they need to add the next piece to their business. It benefits, and the way Curator does things benefits past clients, benefits Sphere, but also helps you generate leads. That's not the only focus of what they do. It's very holistic and very, full funnel, marketing, development. And, so having our development and our customer support team there face to face with those people guides us into how we can evolve our product to better support these people who are producing well, but who want to go to the next level. And so, yeah, like I would say across the board, I mean, just the simple fact of being able to interface with those guys, learn from them and how they're growing their businesses because they're doing a lot of things very, very right. It's probably the biggest one is the opportunity to learn from their customers and how they're trying to evolve their businesses and how we can better support that.
Oh, that's great. Chris, you can send a check to me next week, actually. Thomas, have you got any questions?
Well, no, I just wanted to comment that, I as often happens in these interviews, you go in to talk to somebody about their product, but I mean, Dave, you were brilliant with giving some great business advice throughout this, whether you knew it or not. I mean, I just wanted to comment that I appreciate it just from the standpoint of, I am a solo agent, so I'm likely not the candidate for this, but they're just learning about how you develop this and how you run your business, staying focused, not trying to please all people, knowing your product, knowing who your product's serving and how to best serve them. I think that's all fantastic business advice. I do have one follow-up question, and that's just down to, again, the nuts and bolts of it is on the follow-up systems that you create. What are the end users or what the receivers of these keep in touch items? What are they actually getting? Let me elaborate. I'm talking about, are they getting text, email, video, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it depends on the event that's being
Okay.
triggered, right? We do have a full calendar integration, full two-way sync with Google Calendar. So when you're using Google and you create an event in Follow Up Boss, it actually shows up in Google, and you can actually receive notifications there, on those kinds of things. Notifications are primarily on new leads, so you can get those through email, text message. But the best way to get notified about new leads and certain events with those leads is through push notifications inside our mobile app, because those
Wow.
are the most actionable notification you're going to get. You're out in the field, or you're pulled over doing something in your car, and you get that buzz on your phone, and you've got a screen, like you just swipe it, it opens up that contact right inside the Follow Up Boss app, and now you can call, text, you can review previous communications, you can see how they came in as a lead, the property they're inquiring about. All those kind of details are available to you, so that can drive your follow-up. And with the added bonus that when you text through the app, it's all tracked and logged in the system. If you initiate your phone call from the mobile app, it'll bring you back into the app after the call. After you hang up, you put notes down, and now that phone call's logged,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So, that's what's really going to close the loop. And I don't know if it makes sense to you now or not, but we talked about maybe touching on some of the stuff that's coming soon in Follow Up Boss.
Yeah.
So we're taking that to the next level. All right. So the plan is, and it's going to spend some time in beta, like it won't be available tomorrow. I'm not trying to hype anything that is going to send everybody to sign up for free trials today. But what we're going to try and do is further close that loop for teams where you'll actually be able to make calls through the mobile app. So what that does is, it's right now the call still goes through your cell phone and shows your cell phone number. Once that shows up inside Follow Up Boss, once that's driven from the same number that you send text from in Follow Up Boss, it's been that transition point is a really hard thing for agents, like texting from one number and calling from another, right? Sometimes it feels a bit janky, and lots of ways to script around it, but better than being able to script around it is close that loop for people. So that's the next phase of what we're working on, is a number of phone-based features that are going to help you bring, so that you barely have to change anything about your current workflow, but then everything shows up in one place, in one system, so that you always have one central, they call it in development, source of truth, right? So it becomes, instead of having to search your email and search your call history and search all these different places, there's just one central place that has it all.
So I'd be able to look and know that I texted this prospect on this date. There's a couple email exchanges, and this was my last phone conversation. I can kind of do a quick review before I call them and follow up with them.
Yep. And I mean, that's all there today. We're just making it so that there's there's even less data entry required to get it there on the calling side. Right now, you do have to manually log your phone calls,
Okay.
especially when they're driven out of the mobile app.
Right.
Next phase is to close that loop and make it so that it just happens, right? We want the magic as much as possible.
So will it actually like capture the like print the dialogue of the call, or I mean, or is it just logging the fact that you had a call?
That will be an eventuality.
Oh,
The
wow.
first step is going to be, logging the phone call automatically, showing you how long that call ran for, and giving you a full recording, an audio recording of
Oh,
that phone
really?
call. So for yourself to be able to go in and review. So let's say you're in the field and you make that phone call.
Right.
Well, we record the whole thing, so you actually don't have to take notes right then and there. If you discipline yourself, which a lot of good Buffini people are, at the end of your day, to sit down and put those detailed notes into a system or into the way that you catalog your clients, whether it's through Referral Maker or otherwise, that discipline at the end of your day is a habit, right? And so now you can come back and you can actually listen to the recordings of those phone calls. So you're less reliant. Like, this is what we talk about. We're trying to enable salespeople to go from handling 20 clients to 200 clients, right? And or prospects, right? And so we have to 10x the capacity of your brain, and we do that through technology. And so, the more we're able to make it so that you can end that phone call and stop thinking about it and move to the next task as quickly as possible, makes you a more powerful salesperson.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get in. You don't let me go too far. I'll get into the real deep stuff about the theory behind this stuff. But that's what we're looking to for the next phase, is really trying to take the next step in closing those loops around your communication and just having it be a natural part of your workflow.
Well, that's really exciting stuff too, because I mean, I think that's the drudgery of our business and why we fall behind is because you're mentally and physically tired at the end of the day, and then have to go back and do the manual entry is why we fall behind. And if you're not working with an assistant that can keep up with you, then I mean, I can hear where this is closing the gap for that. This is brilliant. And you mentioned Referral Maker. Would this replace Referral Maker or work in tangent with it?
Yeah, so for most of our clients that start working with Follow Up Boss, oftentimes they will still maintain, something that they're comfortable and familiar with, right? There's a very chaotic thing that gets created when you just drop everything and try to start from scratch and new. So
Right.
Oftentimes people will keep their other CRM running in the background, Top Producer as well, where they might be doing transaction management, which is not something Follow Up Boss does.
Okay.
So they may maintain two systems for a short period of time, but then they find that, the efficiency that gets created with whatever they came to Follow Up Boss to solve in the first place applies to what they're trying to do with past clients and nurturing and keep in touch and all these kinds of things. So we do see people ultimately make the transition and, cut the cost of the extra system, one less
Right.
login, because Chris Smith, again, like one of his quotes is that realtors have more logins than leads, right? So, we're certainly on a mission to try and reduce that as much as possible while still staying in our lane of what we're exceptional at.
Awesome. So, one last question I have is, what are the prospects receiving as their keep in touch items? Are they getting a variety of things, and where's the content generated? Or how is it generated?
Yeah. Go, Jonathan.
I just hoping you're going to say keep it short, keep it sweet. I just hope you're going to say that.
Did I open a can of worms?
Unlike when I speak, I don't keep it short and sweet. I tend to get a little impassioned and ramble. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, so there's a couple of things. We don't write your newsletter content. I know a lot of CRMs and real estate will create that content for you.
Mhm.
We don't do that, right? What we're great at is technology. We provide the infrastructure to make that happen well. We can't it's the same thing why we don't bolt on other functionality to our product. We're not copywriters. We're not going to know what works best for you and your sphere and who you are, because we looked at a lot of the content that was being created by a lot of the CRMs, not all, but a lot of them, and then dug deeper to understand the results that people were actually getting from them, and it was very low. But you can find other scenarios where people who are expert copywriters can create this content for you in a more, tailored way. And so that's what we typically recommend. We do have a lot of, a number of drip campaigns available to you built in. And all of these, to Jonathan's point, are, 2, 3, 4 lines, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs at most. And they're all designed to look like one-to-one emails that you've sent to the prospect. Not,
fantastic.
You're
preaching my gospel, Dave.
Right. And not big fancy, HTML email templates or anything like that. We really want it to come across as conversational as possible, because the most important conversion point in a real estate agent sales pipeline is starting that conversation. Once we can get the conversation started for someone like you, Thomas, who's been a relationship seller your whole life, in your whole career, that's where the magic happens. So if we can get tech to get you that far to where the conversation's been started, you can work the magic from there. Right?
That's a great point, because and you brought this up earlier, just not being a one-trick pony with I 100% believe in the working by referral method, but with that being said, I recognize that I need more pipelines and or, as you said, a wider funnel to get me in front of more people to be working by referral with. So it and especially if I want to grow a team, I don't think I can 100% rely on it this way, which is why I'm so open to technology and businesses like your own. So
can I make, just before you jump into the next thought
Sure,
there, can I make one recommendation for you, Thomas?
So, lay it on me.
I'm usually on the other side of these interviews, right? I'm interviewing, top producing agents and stuff and what they've done to grow their teams specifically, because that's our jam, right?
Right.
I did an interview with a good friend of mine. His name's Justin Seeby. and they run the Graham Seaby Group in the Southeast. They're in Atlanta.
Okay.
So there's an article on our blog about how he went from 0 to 90 million in production in 4 years.
Wow.
And the whole process that he outlined is exactly what you're talking about there. Number one, they doubled down on past clients and Sphere and built a $30 million business off of that. Then they went and said, okay, how do we grow from here? We sort of tapped out with what we're able to do with that existing Sphere and how it's expanded through referrals. So they went for their non-Mets, right? They started generating internet leads. They quickly realized that was very unwieldy, right? So that's when they brought Follow Up Boss into the mix, and they doubled down on technology to increase their capacity to handle these leads and to serve them in a way that felt good, right? That's often the time when you feel rushed to handle these leads as a referral, business builder, referral salesperson, you don't feel that you're giving these people the service that they deserve as another human being, right? And so how do you use technology to make that happen at a greater scale? And, they felt that added another $30 million in production. So they went 30, then internet leads brought another 30, then doubling down on technology brought them another 30. And so I think that would be a really interesting interview for you to read through, because I think a lot of the mindset and the approach that these guys took to get to where they are sounds like what you're working through in your business right now.
It is a great article. I actually read it, actually,
nice.
Dave.
Okay,
I do read your blog, actually. It is quite
cool.
good. And I agree with you. It's a great article. I think we're going to wrap it up now. I think it's Dave, you have to come back on the show. I just feel we just touched some of the things we could have discussed. So hopefully you agree at some time to come on back in the near future, in the next 6 months, come back.
I'd be happy to. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Hopefully we've opened some eyes, and people will view the video on the Mailrite website.
Jonathan, we should also probably point out to our viewers that Follow Up Boss is actually doing quite well. Dave is using an Airstream as an office. He doesn't live in a camper.
You can see.
I think that's pretty awesome that you use an Airstream for an office.
I love it,
down by the river, right? So do you mind if I just put that into context a little bit for everybody?
Yeah.
I'll take 2 minutes. I promise. I won't ramble on too long. So our whole company is remote, which is pretty unique, actually, right? So we all work from home offices. Nice. And so that allows us, geography is not a restriction for us in bringing on the best talent to help us grow our business. But also brings on some unique things, like when you're doing a video interview, what does your background look like? A lot of people's home offices have beds in them and all these kinds of things, right? And so I ended up getting this 1969 Airstream trailer because it gives me the 10-step commute to sort of change gears from being in this mode to being with my kids, right? So right. That's where the Airstream comes from. So if you guys ever come to my neck of the woods to visit, I'll let you walk into the time warp, because when you walk through the door, it does feel like you're taking a step back into the 70s.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, I just had to throw that in there because I thought it was a great novelty. Dave, one more time, tell people how they can get in touch with you and get more information on Follow Up Boss.
Yep, absolutely. So followupboss.com is a perfect place to start. We've got full demo videos. We've got a 14-day free trial available, so you can just get under the hood, see what this thing works like. It's a fully functional trial, so dive in and get started. At any point in time, you want to talk shop, you want to talk Follow Up Boss, you want to talk kids, I'm available at dave@followupboss.com, or my direct line is just 628-600-2880. Happy to chat anytime.
Nice. What part of the country are you in, by the way?
So I'm actually in Montreal, in Canada.
Oh.
I've hidden the Canadian accent a little bit over time, speaking with Yanks all day, but
or English.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yours is still a little more pronounced than my East Coast Canadian accent used to be, but so I'm in Montreal, in Canada.
Awesome.
All right, and Jonathan, over in the state of Nevada, how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm away from London, my origins, but it's really easy, folks. You can either get me on the phone at 775-237-3884, or you could email me at jonathan@mail-right.com.
And I'm Thomas J. Nelson with Big Block Realty here in beautiful San Diego, California, where I'm never too busy for your referrals. You can find me on social media or at thomasjnelsonrealtor.com. Well, we've had another fantastic show. Dave, thanks again for lending your time and talents to our show today. And I know I learned a lot, and I think our audience did too. So we really appreciate you being here.
Hey, it was my pleasure. Anytime, guys.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.